comment, and subscribe.
So I'm making this video because originally I was going to make some PvE, mythic item stuff going on, but I can't get the OBS capture to work. On top of that, world starts in about 5 hours, so if you're going to do your group pick'ems, you might as well do them like literally immediately. With that being said, usually with mine, I try to be chaotic with mine. I try and go for upsets and stuff like that, and I figured, well, why not we do a video where we fill them out, and maybe for once I won't do that, and maybe I'll actually get one right. This year, since the play-in stages are finally done. We're starting the group stages as it was Team Liquid and PSN Talon and what was it, LDG. That's right, a couple of groups from the play-ins, they made it in, and here we go. Starting with Group A, we have G2, Sunning, Team Liquid, and Machi Esports. Now historically, even with upsets, I usually put the Europe team in the top 2. Like, yeah, they've gotten clapped in the finals 2 years in a row as a 3-0. Surely that's not going to happen a third year in a row, right? Surely they won't get 3-0'd, going 0-3, I should say, in the finals of Worlds. But even if so, G2 is still like a pretty strong team versus these other 3 teams here, right? Like, Team Liquid showed up to be pretty good. People thought they were going to be gone in the play-ins, not even just the whole like anti-NA bias. People are like, oh, they're not going to do very well, NA's not going to do very well, even in the play-ins. They ended up going like 4-1 and going straight to groups and not even having to play in the final tournament. But at the same time, if G2's up here, and this is a team from China that I don't know much about how they're coming into this tournament. I mean, China historically has been the other region that was in the finals with Europe for the past 2 years. So I feel like there's a little bit of a bias for me for putting Europe and China in the top 2 of this group, specifically for that reason. Like, if I was trying to be chaotic, I put like Team Liquid at the top there and put G2 at the bottom. There's no way, and you can quote me on this because if it happens, then you can come back and laugh. There's no way G2 is not only not getting out this group, but not getting out this group in like 4th place. I just don't see that happening, right? Machi Esports, meanwhile, I feel like if Team Liquid was going to beat a team, it is going to be Machi Esports, for that matter. Not because they're terrible, I just feel like if that's going to be like the road that's going to go, if we're going to say like Europe's the 1st seed, China's the 2nd seed, because let's say G2, specifically G2 being like the best European team as well, right? Like, this is a Fnatic, maybe we'd swap these up or something like that too, but like G2 I feel like is above even the other European teams. I could be wrong. It could be like the middle of the LEC G2 that shows up, because Fnatic and the G2 were struggling in the middle of the season, but then they got their stuff together at the end. So there we go. If it's the middle of the season G2, then yeah, this will actually be wrong. But this is how I see it going. Maybe Team Liquid ends up being good still. Like, having Broxa on the team this year gives them like some, not insider information, but Broxa has played against G2 before. We could see a world where Team Liquid could actually end up being 2nd place and getting out of groups for that regards. But historically, like I said, I usually go for upsets and stuff. That usually doesn't work. So it actually means this is more realistically what a Group 1 might look like, with these two maybe being able to swap around a bit, possibly. Group B, meanwhile, is the other group over here. I wish I could have zoomed in, or there's a way to blow the groups up a bit more, because it's kind of probably going to be boring from the video perspective, just seeing this for like a good solid 5 minutes before we scroll down to the other 2 groups. Same thing, right? There's a lot of hype around Damwon Gaming from Korea right now. Korea's back kind of a thing. Korea's back in form, etc. Even though it's not SKT, Korea's still doing well. There was a lot of kind of hype for them. And when you put them versus some of the other teams in this group specifically, some people argue this is the group of life, right? Like JD Gaming from China. Like, China's still pretty good, but like this particular Korean team is kind of like on par with this particular European team, where it's like, if out of all the Korean teams, it's considered by and far the best. So when you have things like Rogue, nothing against Europe, by the way, but you have Rogue in here and you have these guys that came out of the play-ins as well, I see Damwon beating both of these teams, right? Like, I see G2 and Fnatic beating Rogue as well. I think Rogue's the 3rd European team coming up in here. So it's really just a mix-up between Rogue and JD Gaming, in which case the reason I gave it to JD Gaming is because I have the European team over here, and I have a China team over here, and since we have a Korean team over here, just gonna throw another China team in over there. Also, because in my group C, I already have like Fnatic as the top, and we're just kind of spoiler alert of that group as well. So I do have the other European team also making it out. So I'm trying to have like a little bit of balance. Like, I'm having a little bit of like logic in here, but also a little bit of balance. Like, okay, a couple European teams are probably making it out. A couple Chinese teams are probably making it out. A Korean team is probably making it out. And we'll kind of go from there, and that's kind of the idea. So now, if we scroll down to Group C, as I spoiled already, I have Fnatic as the first. Now, why do I have Fnatic over ggG? Because historically, I'd be like, oh, maybe Korea's bouncing back, so let me have Korea over Fnatic, but still have Fnatic getting out of groups. And then Fnatic does this thing where, like, if we start the first week of Worlds, Fnatic will do this thing where they might be like, even on their record and stuff like that. And then on that final day, because how Worlds works historically, in case this is like your first year watching Worlds, and for some reason you found my video first before that, what they do with the first week is they have all a bunch of different teams kind of go against each other within their same group, but like you'll have maybe like 2 teams from Group A playing, 2 teams from Group B playing, and then 2 teams from Group C playing on day 1 for 6 games. Then on day 2, you have 2 teams from Group D playing, and then you go back through Group A and Group B. And then on day 3, you have maybe some more teams from Group B, C, D. It's kind of all over the place. But on the final week, for the 4 days, it's just kind of like a double round robin tournament within each group. So like on the second week, day 1, it'll just be Group A games, depending on what the standings are, and like it'll be everybody playing everybody at least once for like kind of, and then tiebreakers if accordingly, right? So Fnatic has this thing, like the Fnatic Worlds perk, in my opinion, is like they might do however they do on week 1, but week 2 they just come together and go like 4-1, if not 4-0, and then win the tiebreaker, and then they end up out the groups in first place. So historically, not even for upset's sake, just logically, be like, oh, but Korea's looking pretty good, and if Fnatic doesn't start on a good foot, I can see Korea taking the first spot. But then Fnatic does what Fnatic does and does this mess over here. So I just, okay, fine, Fnatic, you can have first, ggG, you can have second then. LDG, it depends for me, right? I don't want to say like, oh, they're garbage after the play-ins and stuff like that, but at the same time, like, they were kind of slacking a little bit. And if they keep slacking, heading into groups, which admittedly, even with TSM in here, right, like, this is the group stage now. This is the best of the best, the final 16, right? TSM included, however you want to, feel about that, sure, that's your business. But with that being said, if they don't step up to how people had expectations for them, and they continue to slack, I think even TSM could beat them in the long run, and this could be like the final standings for Group 1 with TSM even over them, with ggG being below Fnatic because Fnatic doing Fnatic stuff, but ggG being over TSM because TSM doing TSM stuff. 2016, right? Hopefully, Doublelift doesn't say Flash, and we'll see. Maybe, we could see a world where it happens like that. I don't think so. I don't think ggG is going to drop the ball that hard. But it also depends. TSM could maybe step up, and maybe like Team Liquid is hinting at what actually the North American teams are about to do at Worlds, which could be interesting. Like I said, the thing about doing this and why I'm doing it like this is because either one of 2 things happens. Either I'm actually right this year because I actually did logical stuff, or I'm wrong. And it's exciting because if I'm wrong, it's because stuff like this happened or whatever, right? Where it's like, hey, whoa, what the heck? What's going on there? How did TSM leave the group first? And Fnatic left the group as well. The Korean team actually didn't make it out at all, right? Like, that's exciting. So I still win either way. I just don't actually win the points that they have on this thing here because it's kind of like fantasy. It's like fantasy football or something, but for like League of Legends for the finals tournament. I think if you get a perfect pick'ems, they still do that thing though where you get like all of the ultimate skins for free instead of having to pay for them. So that's also one of the incentives to actually just playing the group in stage to begin with and playing pick'ems. It's like you get free stuff and possibly free skins, and even the ultimate skins are like up for grabs if you get a perfect pick'em. Which then, of course, finally leaves us with Group D. Now, of course, the Unicorns of Love, they did their play-ins, and they made it too, and they're looking pretty all right. Now, if you're like an well, I don't want to say old school, like we're all super old. It's only been half a decade, really. 5 years is not really that long, depending. Unicorns of Love used to be a European team back when it was the EU LCS, right? So you could say this is like another Europe team up in here as well, in which case that's why they edge out FlyQuest, because historically that's kind of how it's been, at least in the long run. Like day 1, day 2 might not matter. It's about that last day, right, in week 2. And FlyQuest might actually do pretty good. They might even take games off of people. I just see them as like the weakest of the North American teams. Even with Team Liquid having to play through play-ins, they looked pretty good versus FlyQuest. Like I'd take Liquid over FlyQuest. TSM, I'd also take over FlyQuest at this point in time too. Maybe FlyQuest is going to upset me, and once again, I still win then because that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for upsets. I'm hoping to be wrong. I'm hoping for exciting things to happen instead of the very predictable things to happen, like me having the Korean team winning this entire group over here to make up for the fact that I have them like not getting out or getting like second place over here, even though Korea does look kind of strong this year. Don't they always look strong though? Like, let's be real, every region except maybe North America always looks strong going into this tournament, and then you get 3-0 clapped at the finals, and that's that. Top Esports, meanwhile, Chinese team, I believe it was. You also click on the teams. Might as well do this. Yeah, LPL China. I thought so. And China, here's a little bit of a bias. They've been willing to play Jinx at least a little bit, if not once. A lot of other regions have not been able to do that, or want to do that. Europe was one of those too, and even though Unicorns of Love isn't Europe anymore, I'm going to still have them there just because they used to be at one point, and there we go. So here are my pick'ems. I'm not saying they're great. I'm not saying they're the perfect pick'ems. I'm just saying I hope, if anything, that my pick'ems are wrong, and that would make for like a far more exciting tournament. At least I think, in my opinion. Right? If we can see some upsets or something like this happening, I don't know how exactly that would work, but you know, just oh wait, what do we just do like this? Because it saves it too, and I'm going to mess around. Go to edit this video, not swap things back, and then suddenly it's gonna be like, aha, well now they're locked in. It's like, that's not what I wanted. And then the chaos doesn't happen, and then this exact thing happens, and then I get nothing out of it. No points, no free skins, literally nothing, absolutely nothing. So that would be fun, and also kind of funny if that did happen. But hopefully, you know, fill up your own pick'ems, and hopefully you guys can get the ultimate skins if you get them right as well. You don't have to get a perfect pick'em to get stuff, though. You just gotta get a perfect pick'em, I think, for like the world skin and stuff like that. You can just get a decent amount in the pick'ems. You can get points and stuff too. Like if this ends up being swapped, if Team Liquid gets first place but G2 still leaves the group, you still get some points, I believe, if like these two are still the same. You don't get any points for this, even though you called the right two teams leaving, just the wrong order. But you would get points for this because you'd be like, oh, but these teams, like, you know, whatever, right? So that's gonna be all for this video. Like I said, this video was made because I'm trying to make videos on the PvE using OBS. They've opened up custom games, so at least I can try to simulate custom game stuff for the mythic items, and we're gonna be trying to do that for some of the next videos, like the next Wednesday video, for example. But OBS is not working with me right now, so I had to go drop this video instead and kind of spontaneously make this because, yeah, that's kind of a little bit of an update about what that is for the people that were asking. They are coming. OBS, I don't know what it is. Maybe I have to delete the, whatchamacallit, the filters and the scenes within the actual recording thing, and then I have to replace those, which isn't very complicated. It's just, for some reason, with League of Legends, when you try and ever do anything with League of Legends and OBS, it usually have this black screen issue if you use game capture, because it can't capture the full client for some reason. So you have to make, in-game, you have to make it windowless or borderless, and then try and use a window capture to then capture the game that way. And resetting that maybe threw it off, and maybe I have to reload it because it's picking up the client and not the PvE client. That could be the issue. I'm going to keep troubleshooting, but at least this way I have something up now while I'm troubleshooting that. So if that also keeps taking a while to get up, we at least have this in between. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification, because this is the actual subscribe button, but I don't know which video will be next, because life can have a lot of kinks. So until next time, take care. GG, get jinxed. Thank you for watching, and enjoy pizza responsibly.